Good day all. Today we're going to do a pleated skirt. Pleated skirt, all you need is your waist measurement, your skirt length, your fabric. You need a piece of press-on pellon for your waistband, and we're going to do this pleated school skirt, side zip, side pocket loops. So how we go about getting the amount of fabric for this, we have a little maths to do. So the waist measurement, you're dividing this measurement by the size of your pleat. So if you want 1-inch pleats, or if you want 1.5 inch pleats, or maybe 2-inch, whatever you're desired with, you're dividing your waist by the width of your pleat. So today we're using 1.5 inch pleats, and our waist is 15 inches. The length of our skirt is also 15 inches. So when we divide 1.5 inch by 15, we get 10. So now we have 10 pleats, and you're multiplying that by the amount of fabric you would use for one pleat. Now in my calculation, we need 5 inches of material to make 1.5 inch pleat. You need 3.5 inches for a 1-inch pleat. And in the demonstration, you would see how you're using up those inches. So the 10 we get in 10 pleats, we multiplying that by 5 inches, and we will get 50 inches. So in all, we need 50 inches of fabric for a 15-inch waist. And by the skirt length, which is 15 inches, you're using 3 inches extra on this 15. That is for allowance for the header and hem, 3 inches extra, so that is 18 inches. So for this skirt we're about to make today, we need 3/4 yards of material. 3/4 yard of 60-inch material for this skirt. So we get our 3/4 yard of cloth, and we're going to cut this fabric. The 50 inches we got, with this 50 inches, because we need a front and a back to this skirt, we're going to divide this 50 inches in 2. So you're going to get 25 inches. Now, because this skirt have a pocket at the side, we leaving 3 inches seam allowance. That is for the zipper and the pocket. We cutting the back of the skirt 25 inches, and we adding the 3 inches seam allowance to the front only. Now when we put in the skirt together, you would see why. So this is my fabric here. So the skirt length is 15. 15 plus 3, that is 18 inches. So we have our 18 inches here for the length of the skirt. The back of the skirt supposed to be 25 inches across. That is half of the 50 inches that we do our calculations. So this is 25 inches. And the front now, we add in the 3 inches allowance, which is for the zip and the pocket. So the front of the skirt is 28 inches. Right. So now we're going to mark our pleats. mark for our pleats. Remember, we have to get 10 pleats. So we're marking for our pleats. On the front of the fabric, the right side of the fabric. We're doing our measurements. The 1 inch, we're marking the 1 inch. This is for the zipper. And from the 1 inch, we're measuring 5 inches per pleat. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Remember, the front was 28 inches. So the 1 inch for the zipper, and we have 2 inch excess here. Right? For the back of the skirt, on the right side, so we're seeing the difference. The back, we're leaving off the same inch for the zipper, and we're marking our pleats. So we have 5 inches, 10, 15, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4 pleats to the back. We have 5 pleats we measure to the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the excess here is going to come into the excess in the back here to make the final, the missing pleat. This is where we're going to do the pocket. So this is the side with the zipper. Right, so we have fabric. We mark our pleats, where we pleats go in, 5 inches. Now we're going to prep our pocket. We will prep our waistband, and we're going to prep our loops. So for the pockets, a normal skirt pocket that I will do for a high school child, the length of the pocket bag will be 12 inches, and across is going to be 7 inches. 7 across, 12 for the length. We're going to have this 8 inches I mark off here. This is for where the pocket bags start. This is the starting of the pocket bag. So we're going to use now, we hip rule, or if you could freehand the pocket, but I'll use the hip rule today to just curve the pocket bag. Right. So I hope everybody can see the line. I just darkening the line a little so you can see it, the curve of the pocket bag. I use the hip rule to curve. This is 8 inches for a normal high school child. Right, so from the 8 inches down, you're cutting 1/2 inch and you just curve it back to the bottom. So this is what your pocket bag is supposed to look like for a high school child school skirt. You cut it 12 by 7. You go 8 inches down because this is where the hands go into the skirt. But for the skirt that we're doing today, we use 10 inches down because this is for a smaller child. And we use 6 inches down for the pocket bag. So we will use the same hip rule to curve our pocket bag. And we cut it in 1/2 inch and we shape our. So we're going to continue cutting out our pocket bag. This is for the smaller skirt that we're making today, which is 10 inches in length and 7 inches across. Good. So this is our pocket bag for today. This is the pocket bag that you would use for a high school child schooling skirt. Okay. So we need 2 pieces for the pocket. So you rest it on your remaining fabric. And we're cutting it exact as the pattern. Good, so this now is our pocket bag. So we have the skirt, we have the pocket bag. Since the waist is 15 inches, you cut 3 inches extra. So it will be 18 inches by 4 inches for the waistband. So the waistband of the skirt, you're cutting it 3 inches longer and 4 inches for the skirt waist. You fold it in 2 and you press. You open it on the wrong side. You have a piece of pellon. Press on pellon. The shiny side is the side you're pressing onto the fabric. 2 inches. And you're going. This is for a 4-inch waistband. So this is 2 inches in width. And you're pressing it on half of the waistband. Now it is not iron on pellon. It is press on pellon. So you're pressing it onto the material, onto the fabric for it to stick. When you rub it, when you rub the pellon, it tends to stretch the material. So you're pressing the pellon onto the fabric until it sticks. Right, so you make sure your pellon is stick properly. You fold it over and you press again. So this is the waistband of the skirt. Half with pellon. So this is how it would look. On the side with the pellon, on the pellon side, you're making sure it's nice and smooth. You're bending in 1/2 inch and you press it. On the pellon side, you're bending 1/2 inch and you press. Makes it easier to put on the waistband. Right. So now this is what your waistband is supposed to look like. Good. So your waistband is ready. The loop, you're cutting 2 inches. You could cut about 15 inches. You'll get 5 loop. You're cutting 2 inches across. You fold it half and half and you press, and then you're bending half of one side and half of the other side, and then you fold it together and press. So when you do this, it's very easy to stitch and follow to get your loops. So we have our loops, waistband, pocket bag, and we have our fabric, what we already mark off our pleats, front and back. So now we go into the sewing machine and put these parts together. So now we're going to stitch our pocket bag, our 2 pieces, normal length of stitch. This is the reason for learning to take corners in stitching practice. And we're going to neaten our pocket. The reason for sewing in black is for you all to see the stitches properly. So you know you're making your cream skirt, make sure you have your cream thread, your cream zip, and everything to match. If you don't have a serger, the zigzag stitch on the normal machine will do this just right. Take out your thread. So you finish your pocket bag. This is where the hand go in your pocket. You're taking the skirt material and the first thing we're going to do, you turn the fabric on the wrong side now. So the right side facing right side. This is the side where the pocket is going to go. Right? So we're putting on the pocket in our skirt first. This pocket bag is 6 inches. But we're going to start our stitch 8 inches down. So we're leaving 2 inches on the top for stitching down. So we, from the top, this is the side, 8 inches down, we're going to start our stitch. Half-inch stitch to place our pockets. You knot your fabric. And you stitch straight down. So this is the first stitch in our skirt. We're going to place our pocket. This is the wrong side. This is the wrong side of the pocket. I'm putting it like this so that you all could see and understand easy. You're making sure you're resting the wrong side of the pocket on the wrong side of the skirt. You're making sure you open your pocket because you know when you hold your pocket on the right side, your hand have to go in there. So, this is how you're going to stitch your pocket. You're placing the right side of the pocket on the right side of the skirt. And you're placing it to the bottom where the stitch really starts here to the end, the start of your pocket here. So you're putting your your seams together. What I'll advise you to do is maybe put a basin or pin it so you can see how your pocket will look before you stitch it. Now when you stitch it, sometimes when you're not accustomed, your pockets do stitch properly. So you can base it or pin it like what I'm doing here now before you stitch. Right. So when you place the pocket like this and you turn your skirt to the right side, this is what you're supposed to see, and you know your hand is going to go in here. So you know this is the correct way. So you base it or you pin it and you have the excess to the top. So we're going to stitch our pocket on now. Please do not stitch on the pin. Same 1/2 inch allowance that you left. You knot and you come down to the end of the stitch. And you do the same thing. I like to see what I'm doing. So you open. Make sure you don't have any fabric caught up under. Don't mind, we love to rip, but you stitch. Take out all your excess thread. Good. So this is what your pocket's supposed to look like from here after this 2 stitch. So now we're going to put a stay stitch onto this pocket, because your hand going to be going in this pocket so often, you don't want your pocket to rip. So you're facing the stitch towards the pocket, and you're putting a stay stitch on the pocket as close to the end as possible. So you're pulling your stitch towards the pocket and you're stitching on the edge of the pocket. So your stay stitch is in. Now we on the wrong side. Clean up all excess thread. Right. So we have 1/2 inch seam allowance here. You're closing off the top of the pocket. So you're coming down just about 1/2 inch lower than the top of the pocket. You leave the needle in. You lift your presser foot. You turn the material. This is where the stitching practice come into play too. You turn it and you come towards the pocket. And you close it off there. So when you turn this on the right side, your pocket is totally inside. You're not going to see no puckering, nothing like that. But it ain't finished yet. You're going to the bottom of the pocket, because I am sure on plenty of occasions you see where your pocket ripping to the base under here. So to reinforce that stitch, you're going from the bottom now, just like you come from the top. You knot it and you come up about 1/2 inch again. You leave the needle in and you turn the fabric and you stitch towards the pocket and you knot the thread there. So you're sure your pocket secure and not as you put your hand in your pocket twice it ripping. You're sure you secure your pocket there. So we neaten up our excess thread, and you could see with the different color thread how you come up and you go towards your pocket, so you secure this pocket. So you see how neat, you're not seeing any puckering anywhere, neat and well hidden. Now we're going to go on to our zipper. So we have our pocket in, and now we the 1 inch to the side where we leave out for our zipper. You can see the notch for the 1 inch. Remember, these colors is for you all to see, and please don't put a green zipper in a cream skirt. So we just offering up the zip to see where the silver end of the zip reached, and we're going to mark it, or I just put in a pin. This is the wrong side of the skirt. This is the slack stitch, so you're putting your machine on slack. My machine is on 5 for slack, so I'm running a slack stitch. Notice I did not knot it. If I have no knot to the top, you're just running a slack stitch down to where the silver reach. You tighten back your stitch, you knot it, and you continue with your normal tight stitch. So this is what your stitch supposed to look like. So we have slack, we knot it, and we have the normal stitching here. So now I am going to press this seam open. So what we have here, it looks like a tube. This is what our pleated skirt looks like right now, like a tube. So I'm going to press this open to put on our zipper. Okay, so our seam, we press open our seam for the zip. Notice how neat the front and the back is. Make sure the top of your zipper same side with the top of your pocket, please. And we're going to put on our zipper. This is the wrong side of our skirt, and we're facing the front of the zipper downwards on the skirt. You're making sure that the teeth is in the middle of the seam. Now I advise you all to base this zipper before you stitch it, to make sure that the teeth is in the middle. And we're going to start to stitch to the edge of the zipper. You notch and you take your time and you come down. Make sure you don't stitch on pins. How I putting it here, I'm making sure I check the middle and I stitch. Now when you base it, you wouldn't have to do that. You could just follow your base stitch. Make sure you secure and move your fabric from under. Notice I didn't change the foot to no zipper foot or anything like that. You go under the metal. And when you reach your corners, you lift, you leave the needle in, and you turn, and you come up the other side. Very, very simple way to put on a zip. And this is your zipper in. Notice how even it is in the stitching. And because it have a slack stitch there, you could take your scissors and just clip the thread lightly and open your zip. And you're sure your zipper going to meet because the fabric was closed. So you will have no unevenness or anything like that. You open your zipper. So your zipper is in. You pull out your little fabric, your thread. So when we reach this point, our zipper in, nice and neat, our pocket in, and we have our tube. Remember the markings we had. First, the 5 inches. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And the back, we had 4. And this now is the missing pleat that we didn't check for at first. So the point where we have the 5th pleat to the front of the skirt, this is the front, this is where the 5th pleat reach. This is where we're going to hold, and the seam for the pocket automatically going to fall on the inside, and this is now our first pleat. Our first pleat, and our pocket is plumb on the inside. So now you have to put your hand in this pleat to get to your pocket. So there is no way this pocket could show on the outside of your skirt. So this is now our first pleat, and we're going to move on from point to point. Want to make sure we hold fabric on the inside. We're going to be from the inch. Let me get the tape. So we're going to go 1.5 inches to the point. We hold it. The other pleat. This is the back of our skirt. We measure the 1.5 inch pleat to the point. Inch and a half pleat to the point. So this part of the zipper, making sure the end of the pleat meet the other. So this is the back of our skirt, right? So we're moving on to the front. The marker, we can remember, is 1.5 inches, so you could keep measuring to make sure it have the 1.5 inches. So from the point, you're making sure you reach to the 1.5 inches from the point. You could keep measuring to make sure that all your pleats remain good. So now we have the back and the front of our skirt, and now we're going to ensure that we have our 15 inches. I'll show you how to press it as well to make sure you get all your pleats down. We're going to measure back our 15 inches. 7.5 and 7.5 is 15 inches. So we have our measurement, we have the zip on, and our pocket is securely inside the pleat. So you're not seeing any pocket in the skirt. Now we're going to put on our waistband and loops to our skirt. Notice the inside, you're seeing where the pin, making sure and hold the pleat on the inside. You're going to watch how the pocket also stay neatly. See how the pocket stay nice and neat on the inside of the skirt, to have no bulking or anything like that, and nothing isn't showing rough on the inside of your skirt. So now we're going to put on the waistband and the loops. So our loops, now we're going to prepare our loops that we press and we stitch into the edge. And we come on top, we stitch the other side. This is where stitching practice come into play, to make sure you get to the edge of the loop. Okay, so you could cut your loop. I normally cut loops 3 inches. Alright, for this one, cut your loops. We'll put in about 4 loops just to demonstrate how. Good. So you fold your loops, you cut them evenly. If you know they're using a broad belt or whatever, you make sure and cut the loops to your length. You're putting your slack stitch on and you're making sure. Now when you're stitching loops, do not pull the fabric. Do not pull the fabric. Let the machine feed the fabric. if you pull the fabric, your skirt waist is going to be bigger. So you have to make sure you hold it loosely and make sure the machine pull it under. You don't pull the fabric, because you don't want to lose your measurement, your waist measurement. You run a slack stitch, so when you're putting on your waistband, you don't have to be worried about hitting pins. Good. So you remove your pins. Right. So you know this is the side of your skirt. You put your loops. I'm using 4 loops. So I put in 2 to the front and 2 to the back. Some people just want fancy loops and they want to X it up, and is your desire how you want to put your loops, or how much loops, or how much the school require. Sometimes they are very detailed in what they want. Right, so we have our loops where we want them. We pin it in place. So this is the front of our skirt, and we're going to put on our waistband. So this is the waistband we prepared before. So we open out our waistband, and on the wrong side of the skirt we put in the part of the waistband without the pellon. So we're leaving off the 1/2 inch to stitch, and we put in our waistband to the wrong side of our skirt. Now you could use this method of waistband for your straight skirt, for any skirt at all that you're making. High waist skirt, any skirt. You put in your waistband, the side without the pellon, to the inside. You're leaving off your 1/2 inch for your seam allowance, and you're stitching your waistband down. Be careful as how you pin your loops. Be careful how you're going over the pins. You could remove them just before you reach the loop. So now, this is how your waistband is supposed to look. You remove your pins. So this is the end of your waistband, your skirt. The end, we leave off 1/2 inch for stitching. So we're going to turn it. You're turning the waistband on the wrong side. We're opening it out, and we're going to run a stitch to close it off, to close off the edge. So we close off the edge of our skirt, the little notch there, so that it will turn over neatly. And we already have ribbon from the pressing. So the end of our waistband is going to look like this. Everything inside and everything neat. To the other end, notice, because I cut the waistband longer than the waist itself, it's not going to cut straight across like this. We're going to leave a little lip to put the hook and bar or a button or whatever you put to the end of your skirt. So we're going to make sure You open out your band, and this time you're going to come from the end of the zipper, from where the zipper reached to the end of the stitch there. You're going to come out to the end of the waistband. You leave the needle in, you turn, and you come up. So this is what the stitch is supposed to look like to the other end of the skirt. This is the excess on the waistband. And you turn this over. You can use a pin. If you use the end of the scissors to pull this out or push it out from on the inside, sometimes it cut the fabric. So it's safer to use like a pin to just pull out your corners. Right. So now you could continue pinning the waistband down and you run the top stitch for your waistband. The reason I use the pellon for the outside, you get a neater finish on the waistband than the side without the pellon. So now you run your top stitch. Make sure your pleats settle to the bottom. From the years of sewing, skirt waist and pants waist for school, always ripping. So what I'll do is put a double stitch. This is to reinforce the first stitch so that you wouldn't have to be fixing skirt waist and pants waist too often. So I'll just put a double stitch. And now all you have to do is bring your loops up. Notice on the loop I give it a little play to the bottom to your desired belt. If you know you're using a firm belt what exact to this, you could bring it straight up, but most of the times you leave a little play for in case if your belt a little bigger, and you stitch the top of your loop. You make sure you double stitch. Make sure that you loop nice and neat. If the uniform you're making or pleated skirt you're making don't need a belt, you just don't put the loops. You just follow all the other instructions and you just don't put the loop. And you neaten up. So this is now your skirt. You have your pleats, you have your zipper on, you have have your pockets inside the pleat, properly well secured and hidden, and the excess going on the inside, so you have this for your hook and bar or your button. So this is your pleated skirt, and you make sure that you have your 15 inches waist. Make sure you measure your waistband to make sure that you get back your 15 inches waist. For your length, because I leave off 3 inches according to how much you take up here, you measure your length. So I get back my 15 inches. Because sometimes you make a uniform and by the time the term start, the uniform get too short. Okay. So this hem, you don't have to leave it this big. You can make it halfway down. But you know at least you're going to have enough if you have to lengthen the skirt after the first term or when. But it's up to you if you want to leave so much on the inside. You watch the direction your pocket facing, because you don't want your hem to the bottom facing one way and your pocket facing the next. So you turn it, you make sure your pocket facing the correct way. You make sure the side of your pocket, you get your 15 inches. Alright, so we're going to hem our skirt. Now it's up to you if you want to hand hem it or stitch hem it, but I know the majority of uniforms now they stitch hem it for same ripping purpose. So you go as close to the end as possible. You could also base this first if you're more comfortable. Your skirt hem, you completed a pleated skirt, pleated school skirt. But this is one of the crucial parts now. Now is pressing this skirt, unless you find a laundry that does pleat for you. We follow the pleat on top to the bottom, and you pleat the bottom of the skirt. You're making sure that your pleats straight from top to bottom. Just what you do to the top, you do it to the bottom. I am sure over the years some of you see skirts with bend pleats and all of that. But just how you pleat it, you could also measure the amount from top. You make sure you set your pleats straight. You could use maybe the headless pins. Right, so just as how this bend. So just how it have the seam, you make sure you check your seam. So you see, I'm freehanding this and something is not correct there. Right. Good. Use the headless pins so you can leave it in when you're giving it the first press. So our skirt is complete. We pin our pleats just as the top. Make sure your pleats nice and straight, the front and in the back. And we get a pressing cloth. As the skirt so small, we can use this. Now if you wet the cloth, it will be better. And you press your pleats, you steam your pleats down. Notice that I am pressing the heater. You're not rubbing the heater as yet. You're making sure that you press your pleats in place. Now for any other skirt, you could pass the heater up and down and press it. But for pleats, you're making sure you press it to get your pleats in order. So you see, nice and straight. You flip it. Now for a longer skirt, a way longer skirt, you may have to pin in between or base it in between. As this skirt so small, you don't have to do it because it's short. But for a longer skirt, you may have to pin in between to keep your pleats nice and straight. You put the heater on steam and you give it a nice steam press. Any piece of cotton material could do for pressing. Now you're opening the skirt and you're putting it on the side with the pocket. Make sure your pocket nice and flat on the inside because you want to keep your pleats. So you straighten your pocket. So this is the side with the pocket. And if your seam not straight, your pleat will not stay straight. So that's why when you're hemming, you have to make sure the seam straight and facing the same direction. This part is very important for your pleated skirt. You flip. This is the side with the zipper. You make sure your pleats nice and straight. Notice, even though you put on the open zipper, is only one side of the zipper showing. Alright. So when you finish steaming, and headless pins, use headless pins for steaming your skirt. When you use the pins with the head, it tends to stick up on the heater when you're steaming. So now we have our pleated uniform skirt pressed and ready to go. Knife pleats. This is for your enclosure. So today you learn to put on the zipper, and you can put on the zipper in any skirt. You learn to put on a side pocket, and notice that you're not seeing. And this is where the pocket, can't find the pocket. This is where the pocket is. So you're not seeing the pocket from the outside. It is well hidden. So this is your knife pleat skirt, and you're going to put on waistband as well. So I hope this video help you all a lot with your skirts.